What's up, world? Welcome back to another episode of What You Need to Know. My name is Brian D. Exclusive, and today we're going to be talking about how cancel culture has totally flipped and turned against the woke mob that started it and was intent on destroying everybody's lives for the last 15 years. They're crying, they're begging, they're literally just throwing as many fits as possible to try to get us to stop doing what needs to be done to prevent this communist takeover. We have seen Jimmy Kimmel get fired. We're seeing countless organizations come out and publicly speak against their employees that are actively promoting violence against their political adversaries. We even have this report from NBC where the IRS is apologizing for targeting conservative groups because, for whatever reason, and I really think it's a lot to do with certain foreign funding, let's just put it like that, we have had this systematic and aggressive attack against conservatives. I remember just a couple years ago when the Twitter files came out, we found out that conservatives were being put on lists for buying Bibles. We found out that conservatives were being put on lists if they were being banned off social media for certain specific posts. And it turns out these posts were actually all coordinated by intel operatives in the American government working within the social media organizations. Now, shout out to Facebook and a few others for starting to course correct. There's a lot of different opinions on what is happening to cause this and if there is really any genuineness to it. In my opinion, it doesn't matter. As long as we are winning the culture war and the powers that be realize that the safest play is to keep freedom instead of trying to oppress us for maximum profit, I think that we are doing all right. But seeing the IRS come out and publicly apologize about something that was considered just a widespread conspiracy for years, where people were trying to say that conservatives were just paranoid, schizophrenic, out of their mind, all of the arguments that we should be using and levying against the left, for whatever reason, they were just gung-ho on using it against us. And it's wild because for years, we have seen countless conservative commentators and political opinions with actors used to destroy their lives. From The Mandalorian to Roseanne to Tim Allen, it has happened over and over and over again. And yet, they have this audacity to pretend that we are doing something so wrong by holding people accountable for celebrating the death of a political commentator, not a politician, not somebody that was running a state, not somebody that was even talking about it. He literally said multiple times that he thought he had more of an impact through Turning Point than he would have if he had ever became president. So it just doesn't make sense how they're going to try to use these insane, out of context arguments and expect us to just be so dumb that we just accept it. But because of this, and this irrational push that the Democrats are putting on us, Christians are coming back, and we're coming back strong. All over the world. I know the last few videos that's all I've been talking about, but I think it's the most important thing happening right now in society. And it's not just the regular masses, but for the last few years, at least, I've seen countless people on YouTube and TV that were previously strongly atheistic, not even agnostic, not even questioning, but they just didn't believe, they had no intention on it, they thought the whole idea was dumb. And now, finally, we have video after video after video of people saying, this is how I found God. This is where I came from. Now, the video I want to play right now is actually Patrick Bet David talking about how he found God and his relationship with him. Let's check it out.
Yeah, I don't believe in God. I don't read the Bible. But I sit there, started praying 3 times a day. My prayer started like this. God, I don't believe in you. I think it's fake. I think it's for weak people. But if you're out there, great. I want to know something. But if not, I'm talking anyways. And I said, God, I haven't spoken to my mom for 5 years. But if you exist, I would love to talk to my mom. 30 seconds later, my next tell, I get a call from a block number. Scariest moment for me. I don't want to answer the phone. And I flip it, And it's my mom crying. So why are you crying? She says, I got the feeling you were in pain. But I don't know how to talk to her. I hang up the phone. I sat in that car that night, top of the hills. Chills all over my body. I'm like, oh my God. Either this is ironic or this is real, but the level of coincidence is a little too real. I could have chosen to say it's ironic. I chose to believe it was God, and He has my back, and He's had my back from day one. That level of confidence I got from that moment that somebody was watching me and had my back is the reason why I am where I'm at today. I make my decisions purely knowing He has my back. And if you ask me what's one of my biggest fears, one of my biggest fears in my life is losing His favor. I can't tell you how much that scares the hell out of me.
It takes a lot of courage for somebody that is established, especially somebody that is in the business world, which is a space that isn't necessarily that inclined towards people that speak about religion. It just doesn't seem to normally mesh. But he is just the tip of the iceberg as far as how many people in the last few years, few decades, have been coming to this realization. And for all of you out there that are just starting to have this, now that Charlie Kirk passed and we feel this huge call from Jesus to be able to go out and find the word and find the truth and preach what needs to be said, I just want you to see him as an example that no matter who you are and what your background is and what the situation is, Jesus is here for all of us. Now, what's wild is, and I guess maybe it's not wild, because in the Bible, Jesus says that we will be persecuted for following him. But when you see the videos of people that are being persecuted for their beliefs when they're following Jesus, but yet people that are going out and disrupting public for either pro-Islamic or pro-Israeli causes, it's just that the contrast between the two make no sense. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. And I want you to see how atrocious this really is before your own eyes. Look at this.
Are you praying?
I might be praying in my head.
So I'll ask you once more, will you voluntarily come with us now to the police station for me to ask you some questions about today and other days where there are allegations that you've broken public space protection?
If I've got a choice, then no.
Okay, well then you're under arrest on suspicion of failing to comply with the public spaces protection order.
Let's get back to the preaching the gospel part. Hallelujah! I ain't got amplification. Hallelujah! I'm allowed to preach. I'm allowed to preach. Everywhere I go, I'm allowed to preach, bro.
I can arrest you.
You can't arrest me. There is no arrest you can arrest me. I have served the government. I have served the government. You can't arrest me. You can't arrest me. Why do they arrest me?
Was outraged by proposing a sweeping injunction that could see Christian street preachers imprisoned for up to 2 years.
We were warned, and honestly, I think that when we start seeing things like this, it's partially why so many people feel the call for Jesus. Because if he wasn't real, why would they respond this way? They don't respond like this when it's an Islamist waving their flags, marching thousands and thousands down the streets, overtaking townships, literally destroying everything that is Western. Nobody has a problem with that. Nobody has a problem with Israel, with all of the money that they put into our politics and all of the influence that they have over our media and what we're able to say. Nobody ever has an issue with them waving their flags and doing their thing and preaching their word. But let a couple of people come out and start talking about Jesus, and next thing you know, everybody loses their minds. They want to attack us. They want to take us out. Charlie Kirk was just the first of many of us that are at risk of being politically prosecuted because of a communist ideology. So here I have a video of a man who is talking about the Crusades and how you can try to make sense of Christians and a crusade, which is, a holy war. And the argument that so many people on the left like to make is that how is it that Christians are able to engage in a holy war if we're told to be peaceful? Well, this guy has a pretty interesting take on the whole situation and what caused us to get to that point. And I think it's interesting because, just like the last video said, I think we're approaching the 9th crusade. It just feels like it's likely. Check this out.
Am I saying that with Christianity comes peace? No, I'm not. I'm saying with Christ comes peace. But then the question was, what about the Crusades? So let me answer that directly. The Crusades were launched after 7 centuries of constant Islamic aggression. Before the very first crusade was launched in 1095, Muslims had invaded the following Christian lands. They had invaded Christian Syria, Christian Jordan, Christian Palestine, Christian Egypt, Christian Algeria, Christian Libya, Christian Morocco, Christian Portugal, Christian Spain, Christian France, Christian Sicily, Christian Turkey, Christian Armenia, Christian Italy, all before the First Crusade. The Crusades are a legitimate response to Islamic aggression and Islamic violence.
So well said. Now here's the thing, because there's always this conversation that's happening about Israel and Iran and what's going on in the Middle East. And I just want to throw it out there. It is really important for people to understand that this conflict was happening before Islam ever got into the area. Islam is a unique threat. It is its own separate issue. But the conflict happening there has been happening before Islam started to become the dominant ever. There was always these wars. That's why I really think that we should just consider it the Middle Eastern threat. It's not right to say that it's one or the other or this or that, because they like to change over time. It's very common. So then, just because I think that it's important to reconcile the fact that with all this unbalance and everything that is going on with this attack against Christians and this war against good and evil, especially in the political and influencer spaces, people like Shaquille O'Neal, who has so much following and so much to lose, are coming out and they are defending Charlie Kirk. And not just people like Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal himself. And here I have this picture up. I'm not going to read through it all, but essentially, he is willing to take a stand no matter what backlash comes to him for it, because it is the right thing to do. This isn't as simple as just, oh, I'm a Democrat, oh, I'm a Republican. No, this is about a battle for good and evil. The things that that Charlie stood up for, the things that the church represents, the things that the conservative movement care about are not necessarily political in nature. It shouldn't be, at least. We're not over here debating taxes anymore. That's really what I'm saying. I mean, look at this, out of Canada. If you think that this is a political conversation, tell me why in politics are we having the left fight for pedophilia and basically exposing children, innocent minds, to demonic corruption? Look at this.
The sidewalk outside is filled with people waiting for the parade to start. Everyone is wearing whatever makes them feel most like themselves, even if that means wearing hardly anything at all.
That is grooming. Now, the world is healing because even Zuckerberg is pulling away from the T part of the LGBT, and I think that's a huge step in the right direction. You can see here that transgender and non-binary themes are being removed from Meta's Messenger. It's not the end-all be-all, but it is definitely a step in the right direction. But just because finally we're starting to see some of the CEOs and some of these people that really are responsible for the left agenda that has become so strong in this country, just because we're starting to see them change course doesn't mean that we need to start laying down and not being aware of the dangers that are still posed against us. And because of that, I want to play this clip from Crowder, who is talking about the realities of what it should be like if you attend one of his events, or any event at this point going forward, after Charlie Kirk was brutally assassinated for speaking. Look at this.
I don't want them to wonder. I want you to know.
Expect, yes.
I want you to know that if
Yeah.
you show up at one of my events, or Ben Shapiro's event, or Jordan Peterson's event, or Nick Fuentes' event, if you show up to an event and plan to be violent, I want you to know that your life will end and that we won't miss dinner.
A few days ago, I was saying that the security process is going to be drastically different from here on out because of this. And that's exactly what I was referring to in my prediction. I knew that in order to try to maintain any level of conversation in the public square, we needed to reestablish the fact that you can't just get away with doing anything you want to us and thinking that it's acceptable to just brag to your friends about murdering us and think that we aren't going to tell you that if you come and you try to start some shit with us in our public square while we're having peaceful discourse, you might die. Totally valid. Now, speaking of you might die, Sharia law is a unique threat that people still don't seem to truly fully understand as far as why we cannot allow it. Leftists are so brainwashed and captured ideologically that they can't see past the fact that while Israel is committing war crimes, there is still a unique threat with the Islamists. So I just want to show this video because I think that it's just important for context. I want you guys to really understand that this is not just a couple people speaking about this. This is a very common and wide-held understanding. And I really can't wait till I finish this book that I was talking about a few days ago so we can go deep into the process of the Crusades. There's a lot of really good information in there, a lot of history that we can learn from, and it's been very enlightening to say the least. But let's watch this video.
Why is the West kind of floating over to it?
Yeah.
What is the appeal?
Are Muslims allowed to lie for the sake of spreading Islam? They're coming here and they're saying, yeah, we love you guys, we back you guys, but the moment they are the majority, they will turn and Sharia law will take over. And if Sharia law takes over, women will be beaten. If Sharia law takes over, homosexuals will be chucked off buildings. If Sharia law takes over, pastors will be killed, women will be raped, children will be turned into Muslims, and churches will be bought and turned into mosques, which is what's happening in London. So I think what they're doing now in America is they're practicing taqiyya, where they're lying to your face until you let them in. And once you let them in, they'll take over.
Now, there's this huge argument right now that, Israel's wars are not our wars. And I 100,000% agree. Israel's wars are not our wars. But what Israel's war is and the Islamic takeover are not necessarily the same thing. They are closely related in this moment in history, but like I was saying a little while ago, when all of this conflict was beginning, it was before Islam had taken over these regions. There was 1,000 years of strife between the Jewish and the Christians of the Middle East. There was 1,000 years of battle with other ideologies in the area that were prominent leading up to the beginning of the quote-unquote Judeo-Christian dominance of the world. And while I do think that we should somewhat couple these ideas together now, it's really important that people understand that this is not 100% the same thing, and they're using that to their advantage. That said, Israel is still a unique threat. And there was this really interesting interview with Patrick Bet-David and a former CIA agent who was going into details about why he doesn't trust Israel's government and their intel agencies. Let's look at this.
Who did you not at all trust, even though you had to work with them?
The Israelis.
You didn't trust them?
Not as far as I could throw them.
You, or was that a cultural thing?
It was cultural. We don't allow the Israelis into CIA headquarters because they would always come with gifts, and the gifts had always listening devices packed inside them. And somebody brings you a gift, you x-ray it. It's the normal process. And we're like, you guys can't keep coming back here every single time trying to bug our conference rooms. So no more. So,
and was it easy to x-ray and see that they had bugs in them?
Yeah.
What percentage of the time did gifts have bugs in them?
100%.
Be quiet.
No, seriously.
Are you kidding me?
Absolutely not. I wish I was.
100% of the time they brought gifts that had bugs in them.
Yeah. And we're like, okay, no more. You can't come on campus anymore.
Will you guys joke about it with them? You're like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What is this? So was it like a joke?
Come on, you guys. No, they were serious. They were hoping one would slip through.
John, was that across the board with everybody that didn't trust them the most?
Oh, yeah.
What percentage of guys you work with didn't trust Mossad?
100%. The guy I sat next to at headquarters and his wife went on a tour to Jerusalem. They were absolutely lovely people. They were declared to the Israelis. So the Israelis knew that they were CIA officers, and they went to Jerusalem for a 2-year assignment not to work against the Israelis. We don't work against the Israelis. That December, they go to a Christmas party at the ambassador's residence. And when they get back to the house, people had taken shits in all their toilets and left it unflushed. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Why? They drive back home, and when they get home, the dog is whimpering under the dining room table. Somebody had cut his tail off. Like, why? They're just...
And here's the thing. Just because there are military people inside of an organization doing bad things doesn't mean that every single person inside of that ethnicity or ideological group necessarily follows into that. But what I will say is, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. That's all I'm saying. Take that for what you want. Now, I think it's kind of interesting that we're starting to re-experience a old pattern from the internet that a lot of you might not have even experienced depending on where you were on YouTube and stuff 10, 15 years ago. But the internet used to be a much different place. Alex Jones was one of many people that were exposing a lot of conspiracies that were calling out Israel, and there was a lot of videos that would talk about the Holocaust, and they would break down different parts of the Nazis and the fascists in Russia and really everything that was going on in the world. The internet used to be just filled with people talking about it, and we're starting to see it again. It's like this rediscovery of old information, and it's really interesting. And you know, I'm 30 now, so the last time that I was going through all of this, I was a teenager up to a young adult, and just re-experiencing all of this information, rediscovering stuff that I forgot, going over information that I, do know, and it's really changed my perspective on how much the quote-unquote Illuminati is really just intel agencies and criminal organizations. But this video here is kind of a compilation clip. I actually don't even 100% know where it came from. It was sent to me, but I really enjoyed it. It's to show the Great Awakening and how many people are catching on to what's going on with the Israeli involvement in our government. Check this out.
How much influence does Israel have on our country?
Israel's controlling our government.
Israel controls us.
Israel is in control of our government.
The government of Israel controls the United States.
Israel has run American foreign policy for 30 years.
It feels like we're just owned by Israel, and we just never knew it.
Is the United States government now just taking edicts and orders from Israel?
Israel first.
Israel first.
Israel first.
This really is an Israel first administration.
Israel. Israel.
Israel.
AIPAC, I'm coming to tear your kingdom down.
Mr. Mamdani.
I would stay in New York City.
America first means we don't go to war on behalf of other countries.
Cut off aid to Israel.
I wouldn't send him a dime.
This is my country.
What do you have allegiance to?
Do you believe America's your country, or do you believe Israel's your country?
Act like an American, not an Israeli. What are you, a foreign agent?
I don't think we should be fighting wars on behalf of Israel.
Israel's wars are not America's wars.
It's wild. But just because that sentence at the very end of that, Israel's wars are not America's wars, I want to reemphasize one more time. These wars were happening before Islamists got to the area. The threat of Islamists are not 100% the same thing as the conflict that is happening there. This conflict would be happening if it was still dominated by Christians. That said, I want to show this video of Muslims bragging about their plan to dismantle America, because it is important, and they're way more bold about this than what makes sense. And maybe this is because there's intel agencies paying people of certain ethnicities to make certain ideological groups inside of their ethnicities look a certain way. I'm going to throw that out there because it's always possibilities of some sort of conspiracy or foul play. But regardless, it's interesting. Check this out.
They
Today, we have 43 state delegates in the United States who are Muslim. If they want to run for Congress, we may end up with about 50 members of Congress in the next 6 years. That's really the essence of dismantling the system of injustice.
It's not just the fact that people that are on the internet are pushing this, but it's the fact that Charlie Kirk died within weeks of him really starting to catch wind of how deep the Israeli corruption goes. Not Jewish corruption, Israeli corruption. Very important. And he was talking with Ben Shapiro and even making lighthearted jokes, which was really like a wink to the world that he knew and was playing the game until he was able to be a little bit more honest. So check this out.
The Ben, perception, the legacy media is like owned by the Jews. And
I was going to say, Ben, come
Israel.
on. You Jews own the media, Ben. So, I mean, come on. As you can tell by all the wonderful headlines you guys get.
Well, I mean, dude, the accusation that we own the media has not...
the accusation that... It's so funny. I used to really like Ben Shapiro. A few years ago, I thought, when he was debating college kids and he would just go out and speak, that he was very commonsensical. That's how it appeared. When he was first coming out, he didn't push hardly any of the Israeli agenda. He felt like an American first person, and it's crazy. It really is. That said, we have videos coming from all over America and Europe where, there's constantly Palestinian protests and pro-Islamic takeover protests. And these people are getting more bold and more vicious. And I just want to show you what it's starting to look like on a daily basis when you're going out and engaging with conversation with these people. Look at this.
Palestine! Iran will kill you all.
Yeah, from Hamas. If you care about the Palestinians, from Hamas.
Did you just say Iran will kill us? What do you want? You want to take your body? Don't touch my phone.
So crazy. Here's a video of a Muslim man telling people how you're able to enforce Sharia law on women and what you need to do to enforce it. It's disgusting, but you need to hear it.
Her that she is punished and she is stoned to death. And according to the Sharia again, when it comes to women, there must be a hole dug in the earth, in the ground, and she must be covered up to the half of the body, so that her satar does not appear.
That's so crazy. Here's a video of Iranian lawmakers, or in their House of Congress, or whatever they call it over there, chanting death to America. I want you to see this because while it is true that our war is not the same as Israel's war, we do have an Iranian problem at this point. You can argue about what caused it to be an issue with America, and I might be inclined to agree with what caused it, depending on where you're going with it. That's a whole nother topic, but it should be equally threatening for you to see this as anybody that is against the Israeli government. And if you think that we should be separating the two as if they are not both unique terrorist organizations, then you are just not being honest. And you're not arguing in a good faith capacity, if you ask me. Check this out.
Iranian lawmakers chanting death to America.
I mean, at a certain point, we have to accept that the world is not America. I don't think a lot of people in America, and maybe even not a lot of people in Europe, understand this, but it's not the same over there. It just isn't. It's way more like Game of Thrones. It's way more like the realities of Handmaid's Tale, which is funny that the left hates the idea of that, but they push for it so hard. But it's not the same as what happens here. Civil discourse doesn't happen the same. Reactions to conversations don't happen the same. If you import the third world, you become the third world. And that's so true, and it's becoming more true. That said, here's the mayor of Dearborn, Michigan, the first Islamic dominant city in America, telling a white man that he is not welcome there because he's Islamophobic. It's crazy. Check this out.
I mean, Hezbollah, bombed the embassy in Beirut, and including many Americans. So I just feel it's quite inappropriate.
You are an Islamophobe. And although you live here, I want you to know as mayor, you are not welcome here. And the day you move out of the city will be the day that I launch a parade celebrating the fact that you moved out of the city. Because you are not somebody who believes in coexistence.
So evil. All right. So just to end the show today, I want to talk about how it's really ironic that the left loves to say that this is just like a white supremacist idea to be against Islam, to have any opinions against Israel, to fight against this one world government, turns you into a toxic white male, white supremacist, whatever. Well, I have this video. It's out of the UK, and it's a black man talking about cultural erosion. And maybe you could argue he's just like an Uncle Ruckus figure in the modern era, but I think that it's way more likely that this man is not brainwashed and able to see reality clearly for what it is. He has beautiful words, and I want you to listen to them close. Check this out.
I want England to be a nation of Caucasian heritage people. Just like if I go to Saudi Arabia, I want to see Saudi Arabians. If I went to China, I see China. England's not in 10, 20 years' time, is not going to be Anglo-Saxon Caucasian heritage anymore. It's going to be people who look like me, and that's not going to be a good thing.
Why isn't it a good thing?
Because they're going to be bringing in an inferior culture.
What would you do to stop the small boats?
I'd militarize it. I'd tell the military nobody lands on the beach. Get the military to stop it, and I'm sure they could.
How do you think they go about stopping it, though?
No boat lands on the beach. No boats would land on the...
Does that mean sinking them?
Whatever's necessary.
Even if there's like kids, women on the small boats, they should still be sunk?
No boats would land on the beach.
Look. Is he a white supremacist? Is that why he has those ideas? I just want you to make a rational argument about that, because to me, that seems like the common sense approach. If I go to his homeland, I would expect it to look like him. I just would. I would expect them to speak their native tongue. And if their native tongue is English, that's fine, but it's not like I would expect them to change their culture to accommodate people that are visiting or maybe even want to move there. But alright, that's enough for today. The world is going nuts. I hope that this was a little bit helpful for seeing what's going on and hoping you come to your own conclusions about the Islamic and Israeli conflict and what's going on in the world. If you enjoy my content, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on all social media platforms at Brian D Exclusive. If you want to support the channel, I do have a Discord. It's in the description. You could also just donate to me on Cash App. It's also Brian D Exclusive. Brian with a Y, because you always got to ask questions. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.